I have wore that.
Body and
I
walk.
wore it like in April or May or June or
Not the.
something.
Oh wait,
Becca with
Damn
a
it.
walk.
she wears all of my damn hoodies.
Mason, in all
I
seriousness,
wore my shirt. It was a small. You don't wear small.
since it's not linked anymore since I unlinked it.
That's
Damn
just
it!
the
She wore
shirt
my Scotty
spreadsheet.
Gardner hoodie too.
She did.
The fudge! Get your own, woman.
Welcome back, everyone, to the Track Packers podcast for episode 16 of season 2. We're deep into the middle of June. We hope you all are having a great summer. We have a lot of big races that have happened and more that are coming up soon. We're here to break it all down with myself, Mason, along with John, Becca, and Mr. Collinsworth, Jessup Pelkey. And we want to thank our presenting sponsor in 2023, Hitch Harness. Tyler Hall out of Fertile, Minnesota developed the Hitch Harness as a very innovative product focusing on trailer receiver hitch storage. Two main aspects it utilizes is safety, so you have a safe storage in the back of the truck, and also efficiency, so you can easily access it and maximize your time moving from one project to the next. So if you head over to hitchharness.com, they have plenty of inventory to choose from, multiple colors and styles. They have chassis dollies for the racers if you want to add that to the shop. And if you keep in tabs on the Facebook page, you might get a special promotion. They just had a Father's Day promotion for some of the apparel they have, and so if you keep in tabs on that and the website, you can get some really cool stuff from Tyler. So thank you, Tyler, so much for the support of the podcast in 2023. So for the lineup this week, I kept it the same due to a whole bunch of editing woes and understanding the complex labyrinth that is Facebook uploading because it's being a turd. We're just going to keep it the simple lineup with Jessup on the pole, followed by John, Becca, and myself. So Jessup, how are you doing this week?
I'm number one. I'm number one. That's where I'm gonna stay because I'm number one.
This is a gift. 2 weeks in a row. We'll see how long this lasts. But outside of being on the pole, how are you doing?
I'm doing fine. We made it through another good weekend of racing, and life is fine. Everything is fine. We're gonna have fun tonight.
This is where I need to insert that little meme or gif of that dog with like a fire going on around him. Like everything's fine.
Pretty much.
Would be pretty
accurate.
accurate for some of the stuff we go through during the summer. John, how
This
are
is
you doing
true.
this week?
I'm doing great. So we had a great weekend of racing. Unfortunately, we rained out on Friday, but it was much needed moisture in the Bismarck-Mandan area. So we'll be back at it again this week, Friday. But otherwise from that, it was a nice weekend, but a very busy weekend as well.
Absolutely. Yeah, I was kind of surprised. I didn't really pay a whole lot of attention to the weather out there until I saw basically a monsoon went through, it seemed like.
Yeah, unfortunately, Mason was within his 900-mile radius. So the weather popped up, saw that he was close, and it just downpoured.
Well,
yes, Mason was within a 500-mile radius. It rained.
I mean, Jessup, if you think about it, on Saturday, I was walking through the pits. It was a little bit after 6 o'clock, getting ready to get ready for the night over in Jamestown for the Gumke Memorial. And I was going to go head over to the draw shack to pick up the lineups and some other stuff for the night to take up to the tower. And right during that period of time, I saw Mason. And what was over Mason? This random cloud in the sky that popped up that shaded the whole entire track. And I'm just thinking to myself, I'm like, you've got to be kidding me right now.
That's probably why there's a giant mud puddle over in corners 3 and 4 in the pit area that everyone
Yes.
had to avoid.
Mhm.
Mason.
I mean,
Yep. And
it's
there was the
not
same thing in
anything
1
to do
and
with the
2.
not anything to do with the 4 inches of rain they had this week.
No, just it was because of you.
Again, Mason was within 500 miles of the track.
This is true.
This is an issue for him.
You do live closer to Jamestown than us. So
Yep.
Yeah, but you guys have suffered more cancellations and postponements than I have over in Mandan.
But you do realize, Mason, that Fargo is considered by some to be close to Jamestown.
And you have been driving through Mandan to pick up your kitty cat when you drop her off here. So
That was like 4 weeks ago.
and
Exactly.
it rained 4
What?
weeks ago.
It did.
Mm-hmm.
it really
Think
did.
about what you have done, Mason.
Wow.
Yep.
We're just moving the goalposts like further and further off to the side and back and forth. It's ridiculous.
No,
But
we're
Becca,
just tying up loose ends here.
whatever. Becca, how are you doing?
Mason, I'd like to protest that you probably should have thrown a caution flag on John last week because he made you do a whole bunch of extra editing that you probably wouldn't have had to do if it wasn't for him. So I think you should have put a caution flag on him and sent him to
And
the tail.
I will throw a caution flag
And
on
I will
Becca,
also throw a caution flag on
as
Becca
it was
and
me
such
who
a
did all
Mason.
the editing.
Because it was all Jessup, not me. I was a very, very, very good person last week. Wasn't
Jessup
I,
knows
Mason?
how to edit video, so why doesn't he do that for DSTV?
Because I don't touch editing for DSTV. They have someone who
isn't
gets
this-
paid by the track to do that.
But Mason, this is correct, right? It was Jessup that you
Oh,
had
it
to
was
edit
Jessup
mostly
last
last
Oh,
week.
that
week.
was
Yes.
all me. That
Yes.
was all
See,
me.
just like that, Becca has started with her first caution flag
what
of
a
the evening.
day.
Just like at the Jamestown Speedway on Saturday, when we counted how many times Becca was right, and we counted how many times I was right. And Becca, how many
I
times
was right
I
all
right
the time.
specifically?
I was right
Oh
all
no,
the
no,
time.
no, 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 no. On Saturday night, she's like, "Oh, hey, Alex Kikowski is out there," and for chances, you know, Alex Kikowski was the first drivers sign up for the 34th annual Star Stampede, and I'm like, "The what?"
I
she's like,
corrected myself.
Dakota Classic Modified Tour, and I was like, "Okay, well, let's mark that down." Check mark, I was right. So then
It's not
words out of
wrong if
Becca's
I
mouth
correct
are,
myself.
I am looking so forward to seeing him race in his stock car for the first time that I would have ever seen him race in the stock car. And I looked at her and I said, he was at the Stampede last year with a stock car.
Oh yeah, I was trying to throw a caution from way down in turn 1 when she said that. I'm like,
And
throw
I'm
the
like,
caution.
what?
Normal
So,
people don't remember that. Shut up. All right.
And I
anyways.
was like, once again, Becca is definitely not right in her thought process.
Again,
So-
normal people don't remember that little stuff when there's also 300 race cars at the Stock Car Stampede. Anyways, I'm fine.
I mean, I remembered it.
You're not normal, John. You're far from it. But we'll accept you as you are.
Oh,
I'm fine.
and let's back up here really quick before we let Becca really talk. I just did some little bit of research here, and Alex also had his stock car at Oktoberfest at Dakota Speedway last year. So that's 2 races Becca has now seen the stock car at that she does not remember.
I was only there for one night. Oh my god, what is that? Ew, gross. Oh, what is that? Oh my god.
Deflection. Race fans and drivers, this is truly deflection.
Well,
Aw.
Becca, how are you doing this week?
I am doing good. It is the middle of the week, so I am already prepping and gearing up for this upcoming weekend, where we'll be down at the Dakota Speedway on Friday and the Jamestown Speedway on Saturday, and then we'll see. Yes, Jessa?
I was counting the places. That's
And
Yes.
then I've been neglecting the backyard. So on Sunday nights, I like to take my little laptop or my phone, and I like to listen to the No Deck broadcast while I pull weeds. I can't grow a garden to save my life, but I love to kill weeds. So I'll probably be out on the backyard on Sunday night, listening to the No Deck broadcast and pulling as many weeds and killing as many things as I can.
Cool.
So, Mason, just a heads up here really quick as well. So if there's any race fans out there or podcast listeners or anything else that would like to get the Becca weed kicking service, feel free to call or text 701. She will
That's my
help you with
actual
all of
number.
your with all of your weed and yard needs.
It's my actual number. I already get enough weirdos calling me.
Well, Becca, we need as much funding for the podcast as we can get. So, I mean,
Fair. Okay. If I have to pull some weeds for the fans, I suppose.
well, awesome. Sounds like you'll have a busy weekend ahead, especially if you're going to be pulling weeds all Sunday night. My week has actually been pretty good, I would say. This weekend was kind of an interesting weekend. It was both like chaotic and relaxing, and I'll kind of get into that on the recap. But a lot of curveballs kind of got thrown my way, and then also kind of just, just enjoying the moments at the racetrack, just not really doing a whole lot of anything. And so another aspect, kind of outside of the racing, why I'm in a really good mood is, as you guys know, I've been kind of dealing with a knee injury for the last few weeks, and thankfully that's gone a lot better. I've been running more consistently, and so that's been really nice to kind of get back into running form. So, like, John, I'm sure you felt the same way when you're able to get back into bowling after a few weeks off. And so it's kind of nice to have those things outside of racing or outside your normal stuff that you're able to enjoy. So excited for this week, getting excited for that, and excited to officially start episode 16 with the waving or drop of the green flag and get right into who or what are we repping. We will start this week with Becca. Who or what are you repping?
Well, a little later into the podcast, we're going to be talking and making our WISSOTA National picks. So, in honor of that, I found myself a WISSOTA driver to represent for this week's episode of the Track Packers podcast. And this week, I am representing Willie Thompson in the 11. Ta-da! 17.
I'm unfamiliar with this racer, so what class does he race?
Super stock.
Oh, okay.
Jessup, please throw the caution before I do.
BMOD, WISSOTA, Midwest
Yeah,
BMOD.
We are
that-
definitely throwing a caution.
And there's
He has
Becca's
to be in black
caution,
flag.
and there's Becca's black flag.
I'm not even
Becca
drinking.
is done for the night.
This is
She-
straight
She
up
is relegated
water.
to the back of the
Straight up
pack.
water. Mason,
So,
can we start that
Mason,
from the top?
Oh no! Oh no! 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 No!
So, to go on with it, that would be one William Thompson. He is
Yes.
not raced for a number of years, ever since having a few kids and selling his B mod a few years back, which he ended up rolling at the Red Clay Classic, which is a very pretty fun, very entertaining year-end invitational at the ABC Raceway in Ashland. And since then, that hoodie was bought directly after that for the upcoming season, and he sold his car.
So it was almost like a farewell shirt.
It
That's what
was.
it
is.
It is what they call a limited edition
really
collector's
nice.
item. It is really nice.
Warm.
But no, it is not a super stock driver, even if you want to believe that it is for the Fastlane Super Stock Series.
To my defense,
To your defense, you did
I
not.
only
defense.
saw him race
Good.
one time.
Wait a
And it
second!
was-
You even
and
saw
it was-
him race, and you
and it
still
was-
got it wrong.
That was like 5 or 6 years ago.
This is as
I
bad
just
as the
met the
Alex
guy
Sikowski
then.
thing.
Let's
He doesn't
look this
have no
up.
memory of anything.
Mason, can we cut this and start from the top?
No.
So Becca, I just want to let you know this really quick as well. So now, Marlon Seidler, he runs a number 7 mod, and he hasn't run anything for a while other than a mod. So just remember that, a mod for him.
Your
I'll help
point.
you remember these each and every week. I'll make sure that I point out one driver to you to make sure that it kind of sticks.
And your point.
So that way you don't forget. I'll make flashcards.
God,
Well, that's
I hate you all. It's gonna be a long episode.
I will say
Yeah,
that
because you're officially pit side.
You are officially in the bits already.
this is good entertainment. I'm loving it. Really good entertainment, Becca.
At
He's
my
raced-
expense.
At your
It's been-
expense. Well,
Maybe
hey,
I'm looking wrong. I might be not finding it, but I tried to pull him up on my race pass, and he does not have an account on there.
oh
Yeah,
wow.
He hasn't raced since those days. Like the
But
days that
still,
I
Becca
dated
found him
Jessup.
and saw him.
So I have a
I'm
question.
raced
So that that hockey hoodie, basically, is that the last one that Jessup purchased? Because I know he missed out on one from the Stampede a couple years ago.
That's not nice, Mason.
That is a valid question, and it might be possible.
You see, when you get asked to step in and help people, you step in and help. And declined paid that night just to get a hoodie. They said they had one put aside. Then somebody sold it. And now I have no hoodie.
I do. You can borrow mine.
I wish I could fit in it.
You better
All
go
right,
on a
let's
diet.
move on. Becca's in the pits.
Jessup, what are you repping?
Well, Mason, I am continuing my theme of irrelevance to our area, as very few will know this individual. This shirt that I am wearing is the number. Hold on, let's pull them up again. This is Buck Shafroth.
I've seen him race before.
Yes. Guess where he races? Your favorite racetrack?
Yes, he races down in Iowa.
Down at Boone and Stewart and Marshalltown. He has 5 wins already this year, and the majority of them coming from Stewart. He also has a lot of top 5 finishes as well. So 11 top 5s in 17 races and 15 top 10s in 17 races. So pretty cool. Let's see if I can get a back shot here without falling off the couch.
I was saying,
Yeah.
he races stock car, and I
Yep.
believe he's actually pretty
Yeah.
close teammates with the Van Eaton crew as well.
The
I know he
shirts
picked-
look exactly the same. So, race fans, to continue on with my tradition of irrelevance, if you are interested in any of my irrelevant shirts or just any of my shirts in general, you contact us, and there's a good chance you could go home with a shirt. But if I say no, don't get mad at me because I'm beautiful.
Okay. Well, thank you for sharing that with the audience out there. I'll go next just in case John has a history lesson that he wants to insert here. For the shirt that I'm repping this week, going back to, I think it's around the 2015 or 2016 era, found a Thule Racing shirt. This is specifically, I believe, for Jay Thule when he got back behind the wheel of an IMCA modified several years ago. And so one of the Thules this weekend, we'll kind of touch on in a little bit, had a very big weekend. So I wanted to represent the Thule Racing team as well. And so there's kind of the back of the shirt as well. So Jay Thule Racing shirt from 2015, circa 2015, is what I'm repping for this week. That leads us to John. What are you repping for this episode?
Okay, so I did go a little bit of a different path this week. I know our listeners are going to be very disappointed because they're not going to get a history lesson about the Stock Car Stampede. But I did go through, and because this past week it was notified from Facebook as well as their website that the Dakota Classic Modified Tour registration opened up. So there's been a lot of drivers that have already been registering, a lot of past champions that are coming back for the tour. So that's exciting to see. Some hot shoes as well, as Shelby Williams has already been announced as coming back within our stock car division. And so I am repping a 32nd annual. This is the shirt that has the 2020 winners on the back of it. It is from 2021. And this is the 32nd annual shirt for the mod tour. So now my question becomes is who can tell me who the winners are on the back of this shirt?
Stock car champion is Zach Madrid.
Wrong. Another caution flag on.
I hate this game.
That's
Can I
not
quit?
a caution flag. That's just a random guess.
Gosh,
know.
I'm trying to
Okay.
remember.
What year is this, John, again?
Remember, this is the 32nd annual shirt from 2021. So the winners from the previous year are on the back.
So
So
for
it would be
2020,
20.
Yes.
Austin Arneson in the mods,
Rebecca's right on the mods.
Ricky
Is it
Thornton
don't
Jr. in the
over-
stock cars.
And who in the stock cars?
Ricky Thornton Jr. in the stock cars.
I was gonna say
Rebecca's
Dalton
still wrong on
Flory.
the stock cars. No, Mason's wrong on that one too.
Zevenbergen.
Come on, Jessup. I know you're looking it up.
Zevenbergen.
Yes.
No.
Wow.
So it was
Because in
Zevenbergen that
20
won the stock cars over Eric Malik. So that was the year that Malik came on the tour and finished second in points, 9 points
yeah.
back. Then there was a Flores, and then it was Travis Ulmer in the top 5 for the stock cars. Now in the mods were quite interesting because Austin had a really good consistent week across the whole week of the mods. And he won over Jason Walla. Walla was second. Jake O'Neill, who had a strong week, was third. Then it was Thornton. And then in the 5th spot was Hot Rod Hellebust. So Robert Hellebust was 5th in points that year.
Was this the
So,
year that all of the drivers were complaining that the locals didn't stand a chance, and then the local North Dakota guys kicked the crap out of all the travelers? I think this was the
I
year.
don't remember if it was that year or the year before. I think it was the year before.
I think this
that.
was leading into this year that all the locals were like, we're getting beat. There's no purpose for us to be here.
Well, and that was so 2020 obviously was the COVID year, so that
was
kind
a
of threw a
COVID
wrench in everything.
Yeah, because if I'm not mistaken, so Jamestown started it, and was it Minot that hit back to back?
Yep.
Yes.
Minot had hit back to back, then Williston, then Dickinson, and then Mandan.
Because I remember going to Mandan, and basically they had to section off the grandstands from the pits entirely because of the whole COVID restrictions, I believe, right?
Well,
Yeah,
let's
we
actually
did.
look this up really quick just to be sure on that one
Schedule.
too. So because it would have been the
2020.
2021 was starting in Fargo.
Yep, that is correct.
Fargo had it that night because Jessup and I were back in Mandan that night, and Becca was out on tour.
So this one, John, there was no doubleheader because Fargo. This was the year of the great money debate in Fargo.
Yes,
and the great drive off.
Yes, yep.
Where all
The
the
great
drivers drove
That's
off
actually
the
one of the
track.
most memorable things of the tour was when that heat race happened with the stock cars, where they took the white flag and all of them went to the pits except for Scott Gardner, and he ended up winning the heat race.
No, Scotty went to the
No.
pits. Oh,
No,
give it
Scotty
to
went to
him.
the pits.
Give
I
it
get
to
a
him.
caution flag
Give
on
it
that.
to
I'm gonna
him.
give my
The last place car did not
I
go
am
off the
definitely
track,
getting-
and he won the
Yes.
heat race.
Hold on, let's
Yes.
take a look who actually won that race.
I think
Wasn't
it was
that Mike
was it Mike?
Anderson?
I think it was Mike Anderson, the 18, wasn't it?
Well,
Yes.
you're gonna find out.
I believe so.
Let's see. Top
Come
7.
join me in the back, John.
Oh
no,
Becca,
you're already
in
in the pits, Becca.
Yeah, I was
was
gonna
say,
say
you're
you're
in
in the
pits.
That would be Mike Anderson.
Yep, Mike, and then it was Fromke in second.
Your hard charger of the heat was looks like Matt Speckman going from 9th to 4th from the pits.
Which I had to laugh by because Matt, I think, was leading when
Matt
that
was
white flag
leading
came out.
that
He's the one
race.
that went into the pits, which
Wow.
was hilarious. And the funny part about this whole thing is that I'm pretty sure Matt, Taylor, Joe, Dalton, and Scott didn't finish, and they were all still on the finishing lineup as not being DNFs.
They put Scotty as dead last. Oh, not dead last. Angel
No.
Moon.
Oh,
Angel
caution
got it.
for Jessup.
Not
It was
really,
Angel
because
Munoz was dead
he was
last.
the last one to get. He was the last one on the scored
Track still.
Yeah. So
Yep.
You're gonna retract that. I'm sorry.
Come on, Scott didn't get a call from the promoter on that. Come on, didn't get any.
I'm staying out of this, but no, he did not. I'm
The
just
barn
No,
cat.
I heard about it while we were in Mandan because
there
I think
were treats
Becca had
in the
sent a
pits
message
for the barn cat
to us.
The barn cat was following treats.
to the pits.
That
All
was
right.
one of the years that I physically had to go down on a Friday night and announce in front of the grandstands.
Yep. John was huffing and puffing on the way back
I
up.
did. Yep. I sounded just like, Charlie when he used to walk up and down the grandstands.
That's a long walk.
It's not
A lot
that
of
bad,
steps.
guys. It's not that
So-
bad.
I wasn't being Becca. Becca, it is actually a long walk nowadays. I used to not mind it, but nowadays it's actually kind of long. When you've had
I
knee surgery, it
ran
takes a
the
while.
grandstands all Ironman weekend. It was fine.
I know, but when you have a knee that is
Mm.
not very strong, it kind of, it's kind of difficult.
Uh-oh, another caution.
Oh,
Are you
another
sure?
caution on Becca.
Are you sure you ran that all weekend? Because I'm pretty sure there were a handful of times you walked yourself on up the grandstands.
I think now we're just nitpicking.
Well, that is who
yeah,
would.
I'm flag man.
Well, that's a fun trip down memory lane, and that is who and what we are repping for episode 16 of season 2. And so moving on into the track packer report, which will kind of be a little bit skimmed down because our racing kind of got abbreviated a little bit, specifically on the western side on Friday. But Thursday kind of started things off for me. First of a scheduled 3-night swing for the Dirt Race Central Street Stock Tour, starting in Sheyenne Speedway. Couple of aspects that made that night significant. Obviously, the Street Stock Tour being in town, but it was also the first Thursday night race for Sheyenne Speedway this year. So was really interested to see, what the car count was going to be like and the fan count and kind of how the night would progress out. But kind of before racing even started, I got thrown a curveball. I was just walking up to the stands getting ready to video, and they didn't have an announcer right away because the main announcer, Scott Clarebaum, his kid's in baseball, and so he's going to get there a little late. And so I think there was just a little miscommunication. And so they're like, we don't have an announcer. So I'm like, oh, what the heck? I'll just jump up there and go announce the heats or however long it may be. So I had no problem doing that. The only thing I was worried about was trying to get the national anthem to play, which I don't know if I 100% did that correctly. So I ended up, because I couldn't get the cord connected to the laptop. I got it connected, but it wouldn't play through the speakers. So I was like, I'm just going to hold the microphone next to the laptop and hopefully people can hear it. And apparently they did. They cheered when the anthem was done. So I'm like, okay, I did my job. Now it's way easier from here. So
Good job, Mason.
yeah. So I ended up announcing all the heat races, which is a good time. I know a lot of the drivers down there, so it wasn't anything too out of the ordinary. A little bit of lighter car count. It's hard to tell with Thursday nights because Thursday night tracks kind of struggle for car counts in general anyway. And with it being the first night, I wasn't totally expecting a huge car count. I think the fan count, though, was really good. So I got there about 5:45. There was already fans in the stands. Kind of works out well because they can kind of leave work, go grab some burgers or brats out the racetrack, enjoy their nice dinner at the track. And so good solid fan count, I think, for the first Thursday night show there at Sheyenne. So getting to the results specifically, going in the legends, Colin Compson, who really is liking the new configuration at Sheyenne with them adding bank into the top of the track, rocketed to the high side and got to the lead pretty quick and set sail from there, and he got the win in the NX Legends. Hobby Stocks, it was all Jane Michelson after having some bad luck the first race with mechanical troubles. He dominated the Hobby Stock race. Midwest Mods, first career Midwest Modified win going to Tony Smith, and he held off the Rankies to do so, rim riding the Cheyenne Speedway. A very emotional win for Tony down in Victory Lane. That was awesome to see. I know he's been going for that for a long time. The Street Stock Tour, boy, if you haven't seen highlights from that race, I highly recommend watching that. They were 2 and 3 wide throughout multiple parts of that race. You had Todd Carter, who started 8th due to a funny redraw situation with him and Kyle Anderson. That was pretty comical. But he kind of got to the lead, shuffling in between Schlotfeld, Egan, Kyle Anderson, and Johnny Carter were in the mix, and they were kind of swapping lanes, running 2 and 3 wide. And a little bit of contact between Todd and Johnny coming out of 4 with about 7 or 8 laps to go, which caused Johnny to DNF and break us some suspension parts. But Todd Carter ended up winning over Jaden Christ and Kyle Anderson. So that was a very awesome race for the Street Stocks at Sheyenne. And then Mini Stocks, I believe it's his first win at Cheyenne Speedway. I know he's won other places, but Sean Beto got the Mini Stock win in the Zero Machine. So very quick night at Cheyenne. We were done just before 9:30. So a very quick night in and out, and it was some really good racing on top of it. So you guys already touched on Friday. When was the call made to cancel on Friday in Mandan?
A little bit before 4.
It's about 4.
Because it started raining at right around 3:15ish. It was a little bit after 3 o'clock when it just started raining and it downpoured.
So it wasn't really something that was oh, maybe we can pack this in. It was pretty much nope, the decision's basically been made.
It was a monsoon. There was actually a Facebook post or video, I think, on Dakota Speedway's page. It was either one of maybe the drivers' pages or the volunteers' pages, and it was underneath the grandstands, and it was on Dakota Dirt's, and it was a river. I mean, there was literally a river coming out from underneath the bottom of the grandstands that you could see it. It's yep. And when I went out there at 9 o'clock, there was still standing water underneath the grandstands and in the grandstands. So it downpoured.
Yeah. Well, that was kind of unfortunate, although it allowed for some of the modified drivers in particular to be able to make their way over to Red River Valley Speedway to go for their, I believe it was 2,000 win Bison Battle.
Bison Battle. Yep.
And
then they had lap money.
Yeah, they had
That's
lap
wild.
money. They actually suffered through an 1.5 to 2 hour rain delay, and so they had a very late night. I went down to Brown County Speedway for the second night of the street stock tour. We got about halfway through the night and got rained out. But
What a surprise!
what a surprise! But there was still one winner from that night. Do you know who it was?
The
There was.
fans.
It was me. I won. I came away with a trophy. You see this? I literally ran away with the trophy in the rain.
I'm pretty sure, Mason, that trophy has to be utilized on, July 14th when the tour is back in, Brown County.
Yes, we are making up that tour race because we made it through the heats. We were a few laps into the B main, and so they'll be making that up on the first night of the Dakota Rumble, which Street Stock Tour will be there both nights on July 14th and 15th. But yes, for now, I have the trophy, though. I am the winner of the race at Brown County Speedway.
That could be contested.
This is true.
Were you there?
Once again, Mason made it rain at a racetrack.
John, we were not there, but we weren't the only people not there.
2 out of 19 races up to that point that had been succumbed by rain. 2 out of 19.
Are Volusia
You
and
do realize
Daytona on
that's-
that list?
Yeah.
Yeah, I guess you could count that too.
Oh, interesting. That's 4
Yep.
out of 21.
How is it 4?
6.
Really, it should be 6. Yes.
I was just say it should be 6.
Why 6?
You're not counting Volusia and Daytona.
What
Yes.
did I write on at Daytona?
You
The
rained
truck
out the
race.
We
Was
weren't
it-
scheduled to go to the truck race, so why would I count
We
that?
You were still in
drove
the
by
because
the
you drove
track.
by it and it rained
Yes.
on them.
That doesn't
You
count because I wasn't
literally
planning to go to that
sucked
race
the rain
anyway.
back to the track.
That's just collateral damage. That's not my fault.
Oh, there you have it, folks. 2 races, 1 night.
Anyways, I'll save Saturday for last because we were all there. And so we can kind of touch on our recap of the big race in Jamestown. Sunday, I kind of had a relaxing night down at Casino Speedway. They had the structural buildings WISSOTA Late Model Challenge Series. They just had late models, street stocks, Midwest mods, and Hornets on hand. And so kind of used that night to relax a little bit, hang out in the pits, and kind of just enjoy the night. It was some pretty good racing. Late models had a lot of cautions, unfortunately, and some carnage and some pretty wrecked cars in late models. But in the end, Tyler Peterson, who's had a very, very good weekend in the late model, got the second straight Challenge Series win, I believe it was, on the weekend. He pretty much led the entire race. And so congrats out to Tyler Peterson in the WISSOTA late models. The streets, I think, had the race of the night. There was a really good battle between Jason Marco, Maria Bruxick, Andy Rosso, and who else was there? Tyler Lamb in the 314. They were kind of swapping the last few laps, 2 and 3 wide. It was a really good race. Kind of throwing elbows a little bit. So not afraid to rub fenders a little bit in the street stocks, but Jason Marco ended up getting the win in the street stocks. Midwest mods, it was a battle of the brothers, Tommy and Mike Nichols. They put on a great show in the last few laps, kind of racing side by side, and Tommy edged out his brother for the win in the WISSOTA Midwest mods. And Bradley Rosso got a popular win in the WISSOTA Hornets to close out the night down in Watertown. So last but not least from the Track Pack Report, we had the 4th annual Don Gumke Racers Memorial taking place at the Jamestown Speedway. Jessup, for the first takeaway in Jamestown, what would you say was the takeaway from Jamestown?
There were a lot of cars, Mason. A lot of cars.
That there were. There were a lot of cars. I think the official count was 140.
I
Correct.
thought it was 139.
One came in.
We had one more come in.
Oh.
140.
Oh, that's cool.
Yeah. And I know John and I were talking about, like, we were predicting like maybe between the 120 to 130 range.
Yep.
And having 140 there, pretty dang cool.
Yep.
Yeah, I think we had more cars in the legends and the streets and the mods than what we were expecting.
Yeah. Which is always a good problem to have, although it probably makes like track prep, for instance, a little bit tricky just with dealing with the sheer volume of cars. And specifically for the IMCA modifieds who are racing for 2,222 to win, having double heats. So that's a few added races throughout the race night that kind of the track prep crew has to kind of handle too. And so, Jessup, what were your additional takeaways besides a lot of cars?
Good mix of mods. I thought the field was a really fun field to look at. You had some guys from the west, some guys from the north. When I say north, I mean like Minot area. You had guys from the east and a couple stragglers from Mandan. So that's cool.
I agree. I was actually really impressed with like being from Minot, my hometown, I was actually really surprised to see so many Minot mod drivers come and make the trip. And I know
Yep.
some of them had went over to West Fargo the night before, and it worked out perfectly that it was on the way back. Plus, mods were off on Sunday at Nodak anyway with the Tougher Than Dirt tour, so it kind of made sense for them to make that trip.
Yep.
Becca, what were your takeaways?
My biggest takeaway was it truly felt like a special weekend. There was a lot of fans who donated prize money to the purses. There were drivers who donated. There were big sponsors that came up and donated to the purses and different contingency awards. And it really just made it feel like an overall special night. And although Jamestown ran all 6 classes, it still didn't take away that it was just a really special night. It was a really long night, but it was a really special night is what it came down to. And it was a great way to reflect and remember on the drivers and volunteers that we hit lost way too soon. So it's a really special night, and I really enjoy. I know there's a lot of memorial races out throughout the country, but I like this one just because it doesn't just focus on one singular person. It remembers and reflects on multiple people that we've lost this past year. So just an all around great weekend.
Absolutely. I agree with that. Before I give the floor to John here, kind of the one takeaway I had, it almost felt like a mini stampede in a sense. I heard that comment from several people in the pits, seeing the volume of cars there. The temperature surprised me. It was a little bit cooler, and I completely underdressed for it. I did not need to be wearing shorts, and I was freezing standing in the pit stand on the backside for the heat races. And so that was quite a surprise. But overall, it was, I thought there was some really good racing in most of the classes, very, very competitive fields in all of them as well. And so, yeah, I thought it was a great night. It was nice to get over to Jamestown for the first time this year and see a lot of familiar faces from across the state even. So, John, what about you?
Yeah, that's kind of my takeaway too. There was a lot of cars there, like Jessup had mentioned. There was a really good field of cars, honestly, from across the board. And it was nice to see the travelers. There's a ton of travelers on Saturday within every class. I mean, you had, and I'll go through car counts here really quick. You had 23 Bombers, 36 Legends. I mean, that's a great car count for the Legends as well. They were racing for 722 to win in memory of Jeff King. And then you went through, you had 4 Slingshots. You had the 17 Midwest mods. You had 29 street stocks. I was really pleased with the street stock car count, and the amount of drivers, even from like Mandan, that came over was really nice to see. We had several of our Mandan local drivers that came over, which was awesome. And they did quite well too against the field of cars. And then obviously the tour travelers and everybody else from there too. Modifieds Mason, like you said, I think we counted at one point. Becca and I actually made a comment in one of the heat races. We had 31 total mods, which was awesome. For the $2,222 to win. And in that one heat race, I think we had six or seven Minot guys out of the 8 cars in that heat race. I was just like, okay, Minot is the heat race right here for most of the guys from Minot. It's funny how that always lines up. But I mean, and it was nice to see some drivers that you haven't seen for a while. Maybe you'll only see maybe at the Stampede or some of the bigger specials across the board, or maybe even on Mod Tour. But it was nice to see like Wayne Johnson came down. Drew Christensen came down. I mean, those were some drivers that were really nice to see. And then you had the Eastern guys of Jesse Skalicki, who hasn't been over. I don't think Jesse was over at all last year, so it was nice to see him over there this year. And then Dave Shipley was there as well. So yeah, so some of those guys were really nice to see for that stuff. So Mason, I'll recap. I'll do some of them. You can, you guys can butt in here too, however you guys want to with that one too.
Ahead.
But Bombers again, 23 cars. And it was nice to see the theme on Saturday night. The other theme I have was first time Jamestown winners. That was a big theme on Saturday. So Derek Appert ended up picking up the win, and he's been kind of on a tear in the hobby stock division recently, but that was his first win in Jamestown. And then he had one of his, I want to call them neighbors because I think actually they raced together a lot. Jeremy Hare was second place, and then Travis Ettinger was third. So that was kind of nice to see up there too with a different mix of winners. Jackson Carroll won the slingshots. Billy Carroll's son. Really good race. He's actually got a really nice looking slingshot. I actually like how it's all orange, but it's very much graphicked up with sponsors and everything else, and that's pretty cool too. And the slingshots too. I mean, they were going at it. Let's put it that way, because Becca was announcing them, and I was like, they're 3 wide as they went into turns 1 and 2, and still 3 wide as they went into 3 and 4. So yeah, so it was kind of funny to watch that, and then obviously some contact happened.
I would say there was some contact a couple of times.
There was some contact in that race. So yeah, so that part was kind of interesting to watch though too. But that was his first ever win as well for Jackson on the track. In the Midwest Modifieds, that race, there was actually, I watched lap times a little bit in that race. Becca was watching lap times there too. Those drivers, a majority of the time, were below 15 seconds around the track. So they were booking it. And that was the other theme on Saturday night during the features. That track was fast during the feature timeframes. For sure with where the groove was at too. I mean, it was definitely more of a high side track, and it's been probably, and in Jamestown this year as a whole, even when I've been over there the last couple of weeks, it's been more like middle groove to bottom groove, kind of where it's been at. And then on Saturday night, it migrated right to the top, like way to the top on the berm. So Aaron Michael picked up his first ever win as well. So congratulations to Aaron on that one too. And he held off some hard chargers of Bjorn Wimstead and Lucas Rodin. So he held on to that. And that race had a very timely caution, I think, for him, because they were right in the middle of lap traffic, and it was going to get very interesting because he was trying to slice and dice through that, and Jaron and Lucas were closing fast and right on his bumper when that caution came out. In the street stocks, Mason, you can kind of go through this one too, but a really good race up front right away. I mean, there was a good probably 6, 7, 8 drivers right there that were right in the mix to win during that street stock race, and they were basically jockeying for position on each and every restart. And the streets, kudos to them, they ran all of them in the feature event. So they had 29 registered, 28 started the feature. They ran all of them, and they went the first, I believe it was 18 laps green.
Yeah.
Before there was a caution that came out.
I was nervous starting out 28. I'll be honest with you.
Oh yeah. So especially with how tight quarter Jamestown is, with a lot of racing stuff. I mean, it's definitely a true quarter mile to where it's definitely tight racing with that stuff too. But yeah, but huge win for KCU status. Held off Kyle Anderson by, it was 49 1,000ths of a second at the line. So really big win for KC, and great runs out there for Ty Agan as well as Justin Vogel in the top 5. You also have to give a shout out to Jaden Chris. Jaden broke in his heat race. He broke a left front in his heat race. Started back in 25th and got 9th. So he moved up 16 spots in that race, and it was mostly green flag racing where he moved up in. So good run to him in that one too. With that race, Legends was a really good battle up front. They were 3, 4 wide, and Preston Martin decided to go, you know what, I'm going to the top. I'm going to try to make it work. And he went, I think, from 4th to 1st in one lap and held off a hard charging Alex Kikowski. So Alex was right there the whole time. And it's been kind of a theme. Those two have been running 1st and 2nd at several events so far this year. So who knows if there's a little bit of I shouldn't say rivalry because I don't think it is a rivalry, but a little bit of kind of competition there between the two of them of 1st and 2nd on who's going to be up there. And then Donovan Weaston in his blue car again was 3rd. So, but some movers in that race too. You had Austin Weist who went 14th to 6th. You had Noah Madler who went 23rd to 13th, and so I mean there was definitely some movers and shakers in that race.
I was gonna say Alex Kikowski was fun to watch because he was definitely throwing like not quite sliders, but he was definitely making Preston work for it.
Oh, he was showing him a nose every single turn. So he would drive in way deeper than Preston, and he's like, "I'm just going to show you the nose, and hopefully you mess up one of these turns, and just a little bit of a kind of a mistake, and kind of go from there." It was really fun as well to watch like Evan Hendrickson over there. He's got a brand new car this year, and he was digging on the high side with that car. Obviously, he had a couple of problems, and he ended up in the wall of the front straightaway. He touched it and was done for the night on that one too. But yeah, he was fun to watch over there on Saturday night as well with his first appearance in Jamestown. And then the mods. Mod race was really good. So really good mod race, especially towards the end of that race, because you had the top 3 kind of separated themselves from the field, and those top 3 were, they had Travis Tooley, who started in 2nd. He was up front. You had Colin Hibden right there, who's been a past Gumke Memorial winner. And then you had Lucas Rodin. And it was really interesting to watch that dynamic because you had Travis, who has never won a big race, up front leading. You have Lucas Rodin, who has won a ton of huge races, but never in an IMCA modified to that degree. Kind of running up there as well. And then you have Colin, who's, known for big shows, for sure on that one too, with winning them. And it was very interesting to watch because Lucas was working the middle and just started inching up. He got by Colin with maybe around 10 to go, and then eventually got right beside Travis and actually passed Travis. He led 2 laps in that race before Travis drove back around him with only a few laps left and held on for the win. And while Travis was trying to drive around him, Colin all of a sudden was just right there and right on the rear bumper of Travis, and honestly made a bid for the lead there with only a couple laps left. So, but huge win for Travis Tooley. Congratulations out to him. And the interesting part about that is, as well, is that's an Eldorado Speed Shop car, and that is a former Casey Arneson chassis that he's running. So kind of a little bit of a neat tribute there too to Casey.
Absolutely, yeah. Go ahead, Becca.
Go ahead, Becca.
I was gonna say, another theme I noticed throughout the night in Jamestown was lap traffic played a huge factor.
It did.
Amongst the leaders. There's a lot of great battles within lap traffic. And sometimes the lap traffic would bring out a caution, but in Aaron Michael's case, it worked out great for him and not so great for the other people. But lap traffic really played a huge factor in who won these races over the weekend. And it was fun as a race fan to sit back and watch it all unfold.
It's almost been a theme of like the bigger races in Jamestown too, because the Stampede, it played a factor in several of the races there as well. I remember you talking to Lucas Rodin in Victory Lane for his 3rd place finish on Saturday. And he's like, yeah, I was just in a bad spot when we got to lap traffic, wasn't in a preferred line to kind of maneuver like I should have been able to do. And so, yeah, definitely played a factor. So yeah, one more thing, kind of touching on one of the finishes in Jamestown. So we had that photo finish between Kyle Anderson and Casey Usatis. Kind of a little plug here for my Patreon page. I actually just uploaded a CNC where we talked about like the orbits line and transponders and where it should be placed in regards to the finish line, because there's been a lot of close finishes this year where, depending on where that line is, can probably determine who the winner of the race is. And so encourage you, if you're a Patreon subscriber, check that out. Let us know your thoughts on where you think the transponder line, or even on this video itself, comment on where you think the transponder line should be, because it's not the same place at every track, and it can be tough to tell on some of those really, really close finishes. But yeah, it was a really good time on Saturday in Jamestown. So that was one of the big races that took place this last weekend, and we have a few more big races coming up in the near future. But as far as this weekend in the state of North Dakota, Mr. Dakota Dirt, what's on tap?
Oh my goodness, Jesse, before you start. So again, race fans, if you want your one-stop shop, I'm going to say it again, one-stop shop for everything in North Dakota racing news, results, and more, check out Dakota Dirt. They are on social media platforms. You can find them on their Facebook page. They are quite active on their Facebook page, which is awesome to see. And they are also on their website, dakotadirt.org. You can check out your weekend schedule on there and figure out what track you want to go to be a track packer at one of those tracks and pack in the grandstands. Or as a driver, you can go there and see, you know what, I'm going to go try out this new track this weekend, or I'm going to go through and I'm going to make sure that I can actually go to that track and they are going to race, because there's also weather forecasts on there as well. As long as Mason's not in the vicinity, you should be okay. But in other words as well, again, they are very, very, very much up to date on everything across their social media platforms, unlike other platforms out there. So you can check them out again as they are live on all of their platforms from their website and their Facebook page.
You know, Mason, I really think the newest thing we're going to add to Dakota Dirt is a Mason tracker.
Ooh, that's a good idea, like a Santa tracker.
Yeah, but you got to buy like a subscription for it.
This is true.
And then drivers know to avoid the tracks that Mason's at.
Yes.
I would agree.
Because now that the second rainout happened in the span of 20 races, the curse is apparently back.
Hey, Mason.
It is back.
Six.
Oh, yes. Wave it, Becca. Wave, John, get it.
Wave that flag.
That is
Come
not a
join us.
caution.
Come
Wave
join us.
that flag, Mr.
Come join us in the
Flag
back of
Man.
the pack, Mason.
Nope. Sorry.
Becca,
Anyways.
you're in the pits. You're not in the back.
I don't care, John.
Anyways, as I was saying, the weekend looks pretty nice. It's a nice, busy, full week of racing. Gets a little clustered in the late model divisions, but we'll discuss that as we move forward. So racing starts this week, Thursday the 15th. The Tri-County Speedway in Wishout is hoping and praying to kick their season off. We can only hope that their season gets going, or else it might be a really rough go for the rest of the season to get people there. Anyways, that's where their opening night of the 2023 race season. That they are the last track in the state to get going. The Thursday night as well, the Moonshine WISSOTA Modified Tour kicks off over at the Sheyenne Speedway. And then Friday night, the 16th, things get a little more hectic as there's a few more races out there to choose from. Let's just start with Dakota Speedway. We're hoping to bounce back from our rain out last week to get some racing in this week. It should be a good week of racing like usual. The McLean County Speedway is hosting a doubleheader. I believe it's their fair weekend. But they have two really good paying late model shows. I believe it is $2,000 to win, $500 to start. I might be mistaken. John, if you want to take a look at that, just so I'm not misleading our listeners, but I think it's something like a little obscene like that. So it's a really strong payout.
Oh, you're right. Yeah, you are right.
So 500
It's a really
to
good
start.
payout.
Yeah. This is one of those special events where it's not top heavy. It is very well spread across the entire field. So if you're a late model fan, head on over to the McLean County Speedway Friday night. Speaking of other late models, the River Cities show will continue on this week, and on the east side as well is the Red River Valley, as they will continue on as well. Saturday,
and I think Mason, sorry, Jessup. I think Mason, Red River Valley, do they have I think it's the stock car.
Oh, is it the Kingpin this week?
Is it the Kingpin
It is
Clash,
the
I
Kingpin
think?
Clash.
Yeah.
Yep.
Good call, John.
That's this week.
Good call. Saturday, Jamestown is kicking off the Mama Vetter Hobby Stock Tour. This should be a good time there. They are also hosting the Red River Valley IMCA Sprint Series.
Oh, I forgot about that.
Yeah, so it should be a fun little time. Ty Wilkie's running a 3-race win streak coming into this weekend, so it should be kind of exciting to see what he does. I would love to see him over there. What else we got? Night 2 of the McLean County Speedway, McLean County Fair. Same payout, great pay, and this is where things get a little more complicated for the late models. Over at the Devil's Lake Speedway, they are having a late model night as well. I can't tell if it's NLRA. It's slipping my mind right now.
It's
but
just WISSOTA late
just
models.
Just
a regular. Yep,
it's just a regular night of late models, but another track for late model drivers to choose from. And then we can't forget about our friends over at Southwest Speedway who are continuing on in their season. And then Sunday kind of rounds it off at the Nodak Speedway up in Minot. And yeah, should be a good weekend for the North Dakota area. Now, Mason, I am ready for our friends to the west.
Go ahead, because I just have their schedules up too.
Look at him. He came
Look at
prepared.
me. I am prepared. I have a list, but I forgot my glasses and I can't read this.
He doesn't even wear glasses.
I would say I don't remember.
It's okay. I mean,
I wear sunglasses.
Becca's got her readers with, so she can help you.
All right. So looking out west, Friday night is Electric City. They are having the first of what appears to be a doubleheader for late models. So late models are at a premium this weekend. I don't know why, but it always seems to work that way. But looking, we got one. I don't know why I added this, but Black Hills is racing Friday night as well as down in Rapid City, South Dakota. Gallatin has the ASCS region sprint cars and Belgrade, Montana. And then Saturday, Big Sky is going to host the ASCS region the ASCS Sprint Cars in Billings, Montana. And then it's night 2 for Electric City with the light models out in Black Eagle, Montana. And then the Gillette Thunder Speedway is racing as well. So that's kind of what you're looking at for the Western tracks. We're just adding it because we got some listeners out there, and they need a little attention too. I don't think we can go into full recaps or anything, but if they have a good week, we can call them out too.
Absolutely, and hopefully they're able to get some racing in. They've got such bad luck with weather the last several weeks.
I was looking at it, and like the last four weeks or so, or that's probably an over exaggeration, but it seems like Casper seems to cancel really early. So I don't know what's going on out at Casper, but hopefully they can get their season back on track and get things going as well.
I will say it's been kind of comical following those social media pages a little bit, because they've been very sarcastic when it comes to the weather the last couple weeks in some of their posts.
It's been pretty comical. It really has.
I mean, it's funny in one aspect, but very frustrating, because I'm sure a lot of those fans and drivers want to see some racing.
Well, the interesting part of it, Mason, really, we're going to discuss it here in just a little bit, but this early loss of the early season really could impact how WISSOTA National Points come into play, and along with IMCA National Points as well, because it's a big region where a lot of drivers who've done fairly well in national points, they're going to either have to start traveling a lot more, or they're just going to have to concede a national hunt at some point. And we're starting to we're getting closer to the halfway point than we were to the beginning of the season.
That is a very good point. Yeah, I didn't think about that, because there are several title contenders in several of the divisions in WISSOTA, and also especially specifically in the IMCA modifieds that have been up at the top of national points. So that's a very good point. So now that I have the right week up in front of me, because I almost did the previous week where the Tough and Enduro Dirt Tour was taking place. Outside of North Dakota, more towards the eastern part, we have on Thursday the 15th, KRA Speedway, as well as the Norman County Raceway, which is also hosting their portion of the Kingpin Clash, and Victory Lane Speedway up in Winnipeg Racing. Friday, continuing on the Moonshine Mod Tour, they're making their stop down at the Brown County Speedway on Friday. Fiesta City Speedway is also running, as well as I-94 as well. They had it last week off, and so they are back running as well. Saturday the 17th, Moonshine Mod Tour makes its visit to the Miller Central Speedway. And also racing on Saturday is the North Central Speedway in Brainerd and Viking Speedway in Alexandria. And then Sunday, seems like there's a lot going on. So we got Bemidji Speedway, which is also hosting late models. First time in several years. Works. Yeah. Funny how that all works. They all just pop up in the same weekend. It's crazy. So, and then Buffalo River Speedway has another Sunday night. Casino Speedway finishes off the first round of the Moonshine Mod Tour, and the Granite City Motor Park is running as well. So there is a lot of opportunities to see some racing, no matter where you are listening or watching from. Go out to a racetrack this weekend and support your local track and drivers. So before we get into our wins of the week and get into our closing thoughts, presented by Hot Sauce Enterprises and Isaac Sandro. It was good to see Isaac racing over at the Jamestown Speedway this weekend. If you're twice, yes.
Yes. He was there the week before, and he was there this past week. So it was really nice to see him back-to-back weeks over in Jamestown and racing, and had pretty good decent runs on both of them.
Yeah, absolutely. I agree. He had a really nice solid run. But if you were in the pits and get to visit the 12S trailer, stop by and say hi to Isaac. He's always a fun guy to talk to. Always has some treats available from his mom and Grandma Barb as well. If he has hot sauce lying around, I didn't ask him about the hot sauce on Saturday, but I'm sure he's got some stashed around. But thank you so much, Isaac, for supporting us on the Track Packers podcast. Wanted to touch a little bit on some of the big mod racing that's coming up within the next week or in a few weeks. So we mentioned in our schedule, the Moonshine Mod Tour is taking place the 4 nights at Cheyenne, Brown County, Miller, and Watertown. Just a few of the names that are be coming on that or confirmed on the tour right now include Mike Stearns, Tyler Peterson, Joseph Thomas, Justin Fremming. I think Justin Fremming's a really good addition. And also Lee Gross, as well as Zach Johnson. Just some of the names that'll be confirmed to at least race a majority of the races. There might be some surprises that we find out in the next day or two, but it's really going to be really exciting to see what the Moonshine Mod Tour holds for this season in 2023. And the Dakota Classic Mod Tour opened up registration last week on the 8th, I believe. Some early big names that have already registered. Becca and John Jessup, tell us about a couple of people that have already registered.
Well, Becca, you go at it because you'll definitely know.
Yeah, I get the first sneak peek of all the drivers who sign up. So some of the drivers who have registered so far, a former champion Aaron Turnbull is on the tour. You also have Stephen Pfeiffer, who is always very strong here in our neck of the woods. Ricky Alvarado, the Weekend Warrior, will be on the tour. Justin O'Brien, one of your chassis builders, will be on the tour as well as Hank Berry. He's got 4 Dakota Classic Modified Tour Championships. You got Jake McBurney, who runs really well down in Iowa. Just to name a few of the modified drivers. You also can't forget about Eddie Ballack. He also runs really strong and near the front of the field. And I've been really impressed with Marcus Tomlinson and Logan Schmitz. Those are some local drivers here in our neck of the woods. They've been running really well wherever they've been running. So those guys will be some guys to watch. Excuse me.
What about the Chicken Nugget Bucky?
And Scotty Gardner, he was actually the very first person to sign up because he was our test driver to sign up. So Scotty,
wow,
yeah, he gets first dibs. Well, so we have to test it before we set the link out there. You don't want to.
Does Scott plan on running both cars?
He only signed up with the modified, but I would imagine
Okay.
He'll run the stock car in Jamestown, and maybe if he's talked into it, Mandan. It's a lot of work for him to do the double duty. So
I would say when I talked to him last year or the year before, he mentioned that doing double duty, especially in the mod and stock car tour, that's a lot of work.
A lot of work. Yeah.
It is because it's only those 2 classes running too. So your time to prepare is way less between each.
Bingo.
So I heard rumor, Becca, that they were going to put some buffalo sauce in the fuel this year to make it kick it up the next level in attitude in a competition and it's no longer going to be the Chicken Nugget Buggy when all the outsiders come in. It's going to be the Kickin' McChicken.
Ooh, I like that name better.
He should probably talk to Isaac Sandrell for some hot sauce.
Yes.
Probably take
I would
it to the
agree.
next level. So.
He can give his program to the next level.
So we currently have 19 modified signed up right now, but it's only a few days into registration. Let's take a look at your stock car drivers who have currently signed up. You have a fan favorite from last year, Shelby Williams. He was one of the first ones to sign up. You got Zachary Madrid, who was a former champion. Angel Munoz, who has been a staple to the tour for many years now. Dan McInthune, who's been really strong over in the Minnesota parts, and he'll be back on the tour. Let's see, you got Trent Greger, your defending tour champion. Mike Hagan has been very strong in the stock cars. Gabe DeShaw, who has been kind of just crushing it in both IMCA Sport Mod and stock cars. So he'll be racing in a stock car this year. And Adam Goff, he's also been super fast here in the North Dakota area. So we got 19 stock cars signed up. So yes, tour registration is now open. If you drive an IMCA modified or an IMCA stock car, this is such a fun tour to come on and travel. It's my favorite week of the summer. I can't wait. So tour kicks off July 8th, which is just a few weeks away, and that'll be over at the Jamestown Speedway. Then the tour will travel up to the Nodak Speedway on Sunday, July 9th. Head up into the north of the border for the first time in many years, I believe since 2019, up at the Estevan Motor Speedway, and these guys are super excited to have the tour back on their schedule. So that'll be on July 10th, and then we'll come back over to the Williston Basin Speedway on July 11th, down to the Southwest Speedway on July 12th, and wrap up with Championship Night on July 13th. So it's a fun little 6-day tour, and looking forward to it.
Yeah, you kind of mentioned Trent Greger in the stock cars. Besides the winter racing that he's partaked in, he's only raced twice since the start of the season. So it'll be interesting to see how he does on the tour if he doesn't put a lot of shows together leading up to the tour. But he's pretty quick. I know he was very fast on the opening night. I saw him. He DNF'd this last week in West Fargo, which they had a very interesting track because of the rain delay.
It was a lot heavier than normal.
Yeah, but that's encouraging to hear that there's already quite a few registrations and from not only local drivers, but also from outside this state. And so that's going to be another fun tour. Really excited to see what that looks like, because last year it seemed like it was a nice resurgence for the mod and stock car tour.
I think the biggest thing, even from last year, and Becca, correct me if I'm wrong on this, and Jessup, you guys are on full tour as well, but the stock car fields were outstanding last year. I mean, average between that 30 to 35 car range, and that was awesome to see because they stole the show at a lot of tracks last year. Mods were great between that 55 to 60 range, and it's nice to see because car counts crept back up again on the tour base of it as well, and it'll be nice to see car counts again this year, as I think they're also going to be higher back up there again this year, and that'll be kind of nice for the fans that travel around the tour and just the fans that are locals that'll come out for that night and enjoy it at their local track.
Absolutely. So that's less than a month away now. So coming up fast. So if you're a driver out there in those two divisions, get registered. We'd love to see you come on tour this year. So last but not least, wins of the week. Who's got a couple wins that they want to share with the audience to start things up?
I will go last.
All righty, Jessup, go ahead.
Why do I have to go first?
Well, you don't want to have the scraps, so I've given you first crack at it.
This is true.
I'll go with Tony Smith. I'll go with Tony Smith. There's one.
That's a good one.
The second one is going to be in the same division. Aaron Michael.
Can you explain further for the fans who may not know these two drivers why those are your wins of the week?
Well, that's Tony's first ever win, and John, I don't know Aaron enough, but I think that's the first time I've ever seen Aaron win as well. So there could be.
That's what he said in Victory Lane, that was his first ever.
So cool. Both two first timers.
Yep.
And that's always fun to get first time winners because, that's a very special moment that they're not going to forget. And a lot of time, effort, and hours get put into it. And, it's pretty cool.
Yep. I think Tony's won in a bomber before, but that was 7 or 8 years ago, I think, when I talked to him, that he last won in a bomber. So it's been a long time because he's been in the Midwest mod for several years. And so nice to see him kick down that first win, and Aaron Michael as well. I was surprised when Aaron said that was his first win. I thought he had won before too. Becca, what are your wins of the week?
Let's see. I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. I didn't think I would get to. I thought you would make me go last.
Well, do you want me to keep going, Mason? I can keep going.
Nope.
You only get 2, Becca, right now.
Why?
2.
I only get 2? Okay.
Right now, you only get 2.
All right. So my first win of the week will go to Travis Tooley, picking it by far his biggest win of his IMCA modified racing career. He won the 4th annual Don Gumke Racers Memorial this past weekend over the Jamestown Speedway, holding off some hot shoes. Colin Hibden finished 2nd. Lucas Rodin finished 3rd. It was a really hard-fought battle in lap traffic, no less, where Travis picked up the win. He even lost it at one point, as John mentioned in his little Jamestown report, but kept his cool and battled back, retook the lead, and picked up $2,222. And I loved how he actually mentioned in Victory Lane that the car he was racing was once owned by Casey Arneson. So it had a really nice tie-in for the 4th annual Don Gumke Racers Memorial. So first win goes to Travis Tooley. My second win, I am going to go with Preston Martin. He has been on a tear in the INEX Legends. He picked up the victory over the Jamestown Speedway on Saturday, June 3rd, then went traveling. So he picked up his next win over at the Southwest Speedway on Wednesday, June 7th, then went over to the Red River Valley on Friday, June 9th, picked up the win over there when Dakota Speedway had to cancel their races due to rain, and then won 4 in a row, actually. 4 in a row over at this Jamestown Speedway last Saturday, holding off Alex Kukowski, Donovan Weiss. So he has just been on a roll in the INX Legend division, and it doesn't matter what track he's been going to. He's just been up front battling for wins, and he's on 4 in a row. So congratulations to Preston Martin.
Solid couple of wins. So I guess I'm going next on my wins. I'll go 3. 2 of them are going to be kind of lumped together because they're both first-time winners over at the Buffalo River Speedway on Sunday. So shout out to the 15 of Andrea Jacobson for getting her first career win in the IMCA Hobby Stocks. I know that's a really big moment for the Jacobson family. They were all celebrating very heavily after the races, I'm sure. And so a big congrats out to Andrea Jacobson. And also Sean Wiest in the NX Legends, number 82, got his first win over the Buffalo River Speedway. So a couple first-time winners over in Glendon. So that was awesome to see. And then my other win of the week is also in the Legends, because I was really impressed with Dustin Hagen in the 00. Like, he lost by I think a bumper is what you guys said over in Underwood.
21 1,000ths of a second.
Yeah. And so Jamestown, a lot of legends, 36 of them. And he ended up in the top 5. And I was watching him towards the beginning of the race. And man, he was making some really good moves up through traffic. I was like, man, he has really stepped up his game this year. And that's really awesome to watch. And just another example of just like how the quality fields in the Legends are just keep growing more and more competitive as we get more and more cars. And especially when you have experienced guys like Preston Martin, Donovan Weiss, Kukowski, Drew Papke in previous years, just helping just build up this competition in the Legends. So Dustin Hagen gets my other win of the week. So go ahead, John, close us out with wins of the week.
Okay, so my first one of the week, I have to give it over to KCU Status. I mean, that was by far probably one of his biggest wins of his career from a WISSOTA Street Stock perspective. $1,522 to win the streets over in Jamestown at the Gumke Memorial, and he held off a hard fought battle between him and Jeff Hellman and Kyle Anderson. And I mean, it was fun to watch up there up front to see how that battle unfolded and how Casey basically had to keep them behind him and did everything in his power to make sure that he got the runs off of both turn 2 and both off of turn 4 to make sure that he stayed ahead of the pack as they were breathing down his neck, literally with how close they were behind him. So congratulations to Casey on that one. That was a huge moment for him. The other win of the week that I have to give over to, it has to go to Tyler Peterson. He won back-to-back with the WISSOTA Challenge Series and first year in a late model. And I mean, for him to win against that type of field of cars is very impressive, with him just being a rookie driver and only having a handful of starts with the late model underneath his belt. So congratulations to TPO on a great week as well over there with the late models.
But yeah, we could probably go forever on wins of the week because there's so many people that are well deserving of wins of the week with so many good moments throughout the racing weekend. But we only have so much time on this show. We want to thank you for watching episode 16 of season 2. Be sure as always to like, comment, share our videos on Facebook and YouTube. If you're a podcast listener, specifically on Apple, give us a 5-star review and subscribe on Spotify or Google if that's something you're choosing. Thank you to Hitch Harness and Isaac Hot Sauce Sandro for the sponsorship this year. And we hope to see you out there packing the track.